Hi, and welcome back to yet another exciting week of the Lazy Money Game. In this week's episode, I will start by giving a quarterly update to my portfolio, and afterwards, I'm going to talk about practice what you preach, since I've been reading an interesting discussion where some people are accusing Warren Buffett of not practicing what he is actually preaching. So let's start with a portfolio update. The first thing we immediately notice is that there was a green circle for this week's episode. If we go to the portfolio values tab, we can see that the portfolio has increased by around $900. At the same time, we can see that the cost is unchanged, meaning that I have not done any new investments. The next thing that I want to highlight is how much have I actually been investing during the first quarter of 2022. So we take the cost today minus the cost at week 52. So you can see that I have invested a little more than $9,600, which gives me an average of a little more than $3,200. So this is still way above my target of at least $1,500 every single month. You could of course make a similar calculation, but for the entire lifespan of this portfolio, meaning the amount that I have invested today divided by the 27 months for which this portfolio has been alive, and then you can see that I have been investing a little more than $6,000 on average. This is of course due to the fact that I had a lot of savings before I started the portfolio, meaning that I started this portfolio by funding it really aggressively. You can see how fast I actually invested, around $75,000. So I do not expect to keep up with these kinds of investments on a regular monthly basis. If we then continue to my favorites tab, namely the dividends tab, then you can see that the growth of my quarterly dividends has significantly slowed, since I have only received close to $15 more in dividends for the first quarter of 2022 compared to the fourth quarter of 2021. And the major explanation for this is of course that all the shares which I sold on Revolut, the majority of that money I have invested into Activision Blizzard, to be precise, a little more than $24,000. And since they are only paying a very small dividend, that clearly shows on this quarterly result. So when we look to the dividends which I have received this quarter, they are actually below what I would have expected when the year started. Because if we go to my goals tab, I really had a hope that I would cross this $1,400 mark in quarterly dividends here in Q1. But since I have found this opportunity in Activision Blizzard, I'm willing to wait a little longer before hitting my next goal, in the hope that I will be able to hit some of the later goals a little bit sooner. If we then go back to the overview arc and scroll all the way to the top, just so you have an overview of each individual holding, and you can see how they have been performing this week. The one thing that I want to highlight here is, if we take a company like Citigroup, which I bought back in January this year, you can see that I'm down more than 20%. So despite the fact that my overall portfolio is actually doing quite well, you need to accept the fact that if you are right in 60% of the times, then you're actually doing an amazing job. And that means from time to time you will do investments that I have done, like in Citigroup here, and are down more than 20% in just a couple of months. If you go back to 2020, you could see that was the case for all my shares due to this pandemic that we were hit by. So this actually leads me to the point of the whole episode, where I wanted to talk about this discussion I have seen, where a lot of people are claiming that Warren Buffett is actually not practicing what he is preaching. Since he is famously known for saying that the majority of the people should simply just buy index funds. And the reason why a lot of people are getting upset about that is, well, if you look to what he is actually doing, that is not at all what has given him the returns that he has seen over the last 50 years or more. But to me it seems like they are forgetting some very important detail. The reason why he tells that the majority should buy an index fund is due to the nature of investing. If you are not willing to sit down and spend a tremendous amount of hours learning about businesses, learning about how to evaluate them, understand the different language there is in accounting, well, then you simply have no basis to judge and value stocks, meaning you are essentially buying lottery tickets where you have no clue to whether or not the odds are in your favor, and then you would be better off by just buying an index fund, not indicating that you would know anything about what you're doing, simply just buy the whole thing and participate in the game. And the reason why I, of course, pay a particular interest into this is that I'm actually advocating for the same, saying, if you are not willing to spend a lot of time doing research on different companies, well, why aren't you then just buying an index fund? Since it's not hard to get the market return, you can simply put it on autopilot. But I mean, trying to beat the market, it takes a tremendous amount of effort, and there's absolutely no guarantee that you would be successful. It's rather hard to beat the market, and the chances of you doing so means that somebody else must have lost. Charlie Munger is famously known for saying, well, if a lot of people weren't so wrong in so many occasions, we wouldn't be rich. So that actually sums it up for yet another exciting week of the Lazy Money Game. So in Charlie Munger's words, I really hope that somebody else will be wrong, so they will give me the possibility to become more wealthy. So follow me on my journey in the next episode of the Lazy Money Game. And until I see you next time, bye!